Welcome to day 11 of Grow Your Own Food Challenge, and today I'm going to be talking about compost. I'm not a composting expert, but I'm sort of having a bit of a go. What I'm going to be doing now is getting some stable manure, so it's horse manure that has come out of stables. So it's mixed with some sawdust and sometimes some old loosened hay and whatever. And I'm going to be adding it to this pile, which I've actually got the sprinkler on this pile at the moment. I'm adding water to it. One thing I've learnt about composting, if it's too dry, it doesn't work. If it's dusty, it's too dry. I don't have a moisture probe thingy. I just sort of look at it and go, hey, that looks dry. If it's dusty, it's too dry. Anyway, let's unload this horse manure and make this pile a bit bigger. So I've added all the bags of horse manure to the pile, and so what I do, I normally get about 10 to 15 bags of horse manure every 4 to 5 days. If I went to a big stable that had like 100 horses, I could get it all in one lot, but the person I get horse manure from has 6 horses, so I have to sort of get it over a period of time. Basically, I want to make that pile large. The bigger the pile, the easier. With composting, and as I said, I'm not a composting expert, I just know that if you add some manure with some organic matter being wood chip, straw, sawdust, stuff like that, grass clippings, and you add moisture, it gets heat, and when it gets heat, that kills mold and bacteria and all sorts of stuff, and it turns into beautiful soil. I don't really know that much more than that about it, but that's as much as I sort of need to know. So as I said, if it's dusty, it's too dry. If it's got moisture in it, the moisture just helps it all work. And then if you come out early in the morning and you see steam coming off it, steam is a sign that's got heat inside of it, and steam is also a sign there's moisture in it, because what is steam? Steam is moisture. So that's why I wet it down. What I'll do, I'll get the tractor in probably 15-20 minutes and heap that up into a larger pile. Well, not a larger pile, but rather than being flat, I sort of heap it up into a pile. And then what I'll also do is that pile over there with a bit of a flat top, I've had the sprinkler going on that, I'll heap that up and you'll see a bit of steam come out. And I don't really have a formula, but it probably takes me about a month, maybe a bit longer. So when I first set it, you want to leave it there for about 4 or 5 days, and then if you turn it every 2 or 3 days, when I say turn it, basically pick up that pile and you sort of dump it on itself. So what's on the outside can be on the inside, and what's on the inside comes on the outside. So that's why you want to turn it. And then I pretty well keep turning it until it stops steaming. So that's a sign that it's done its job. If you're a composting expert and you say, hey Dan, you're doing it all wrong, please put it in the comments below to say, Dan, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. I'm happy to learn. This is working all right for me. I haven't done a pH test or some soil test on it, but it's manure at the end of the day. So I can compost just stable manure, which comes straight from the stables. It's horse manure mixed with straw and sawdust, or I can add wood chip to it, which I sometimes do. I'll add wood chip to it, and if the chickens in their rotation, if they're near the compost pile, sometimes I'll put a fence around it and let them get in it, and they add a bit of chicken manure to it, scratch through. They'll make the pile sort of flat. I can put the sprinkler on, wet it down, and then heap it up again. So I use a mixture of the stable manure, I'll use my own chickens, and I'll also use wood chip. And sometimes if we've done some slashing on the farm, we can just pick up a bunch of the straw in the bucket of the tractor, and we'll put that in the mix as well and mix it through. So that's what I do to get awesome soil for my vegetable garden. Let's heap these up now. Perfect timing. I was about to hop on the tractor and Dad turned up. So he's now turning the large compost pile. It's a warm day at the moment and it's quite windy, so it's going to be harder to see the steam, but you'll see little pockets of steam come out, which is a sign that it's nice and warm inside this compost pile. So this is the pile that I just created. It's wet down now, so we're just going to heap it up into a pile. Now I probably started this pile 10 or 11 days ago, so it could already have a little bit of heat in it, but to really get a good amount of heat, the larger the pile the better. You're not going to be able to compost successfully, like say in a 20-litre bucket. You're going to need some volume, maybe a cubic metre of soil. So this is the pile I just created. Dad's piled it up, and we can see when we're turning it with the tractor and when we get up close, it's still a little bit dry. There's still a little bit of dust coming off. And after you've done it for a while, you'll get used to it. When you're starting out, you might not have a tractor, you might not have a big pile of horse manure. You might do this literally with a fork, with a shovel and fork. And you'll be able to see if it's dusty, it's too dry. Just get the hose and just wet it down a bit. Okay, so while we're talking about compost, someone asked a question after I processed the chickens to say, what did I do with the guts? Well, in this mesh panel behind me, this is where I used to start doing the compost. I used to put it in these panels. This was before I had the tractor. The good thing about the mesh panels is I could move it to a new place and pick it up with a fork and throw it in. It's something that Jeff Lawton taught me to do. That way it's very easy, it's all together. You don't need as big a pile because the pile's not falling away. Anyway, back to the chicken guts. They got buried in the bottom, and now we've added wood chip and other mulch over the top, and I won't continue to turn that. I'll let that sit there for about 4 months, then I'll start to turn it. Well, I really hope you've learnt something about composting. As I said, I'm not a composting expert. I just learnt you put a bit of animal manure with a bit of organic matter and you wet it down with the hose, and if you make the pile big enough, it'll start to steam. The more often you turn it, the faster it will get to really good soil for your garden. So that's the end of this video. If you want to join our private Facebook group, please go to chickencaravan.com/grow. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.